Nice job, McNeil. Nod is on the run, and I wish we could say the same for Phoenix. We just recovered this transmission.
Smile for the camera, Commander. We must look our best when the Brotherhood comes to visit. The least you could do is wear a tie.
That drug-dealing animal is...
King of the eye candy trade. He's been dealing that poison for years.
Looks to me like he's his own best customer.
Get back there, take out the SAM sites, then destroy the Nod base. Your Ava unit has the data.
The Nod forces that attacked our Phoenix base are in this sector. Their base must be destroyed in order to secure the region. However, there is a significant civilian population requiring evacuation. GDI transports will evacuate the civilians once all Nod SAM sites are destroyed. The Nod base can then be safely terminated. Establishing battlefield control. Stand by. Reinforcements have arrived.
Welcome back, Commander.
Sir? Yes, sir. Sir? Loud and clear.
So now that we've gone through the, I guess, tutorial mission in the campaign, we finally get a better look at what's going on. For one, we saw the Return of the World map, although it seems a little bit more localized these days. It also showed, importantly, just how much area is controlled not only by GDI, but by Nod. And that's pretty important considering the story. What with GDI, although it is a global defense force, it doesn't have as much control over territories as one might think.
Got it. Waiting order. Loud and
We've already seen the light infantry as well as the Wolverine. They're pretty self-explanatory, and the disc thrower fills in the role of the Grenadier from past games. You can think of the light infantry as being your sort of cannon fodder, good against other infantry or anything that's not armored.
infantry reporting.
Wolverines fill in that same sort of role, except they're generally faster. On top of that, well, they're vehicles, so you don't necessarily have to worry about them hanging around in Tiberian fields.
Building.
We can also see that there's a nice return to using the map against the player themselves.
Infantry reporting.
I was shot there earlier, but
Infantry
you can't really tell where the infantry was.
Infantry reporting.
Normally, the unit should have moved out of the trees, but we'll see it later anyways.
Orders.
The disc thrower, again, fills in the role of the Grenadier, and in the eyes of the differences between GDI versus Nod, well, we'll see which role exactly they fill from the Nod side. Another thing that should be immediately obvious is the fact that Tiberium now comes in two separate flavors, green and blue.
Waiting orders.
I don't know how either of them taste, but the blue version does provide more credits. As such, you won't see them regenerate, or at least I don't recall them ever regenerating.
Loud and clear.
Building.
Infantry reporting.
We haven't seen it just yet, but as with the previous game,
Waiting orders.
Tiberian Dawn that is,
Infantry reporting.
there are Tiberium trees that still exist.
Infantry reporting. Orders. Yeah. Sir? Medic! Yeah.
Also, sometimes the infantry sprites glitch out. I'm not quite sure what exactly causes it.
Infantry reporting.
You can also sometimes get infantry that attack
Reporting. Moving out.
or attempt to attack, and they just get stuck in a walking animation.
Infantry
It's a
reporting.
little frustrating, but
You got it.
whatever. It's not the biggest of deals.
Sir?
Here I am pointing out that on the bridge, you can see that there's no repair HUD. While they did bring back, or bring in the new feature of being able to repair bridges, which is amazing, by the way, really opens up tactics that you can use in this game, they don't make them unanimous for every bridge. So it's usually best to explore a little bit, at least see where, like, what exactly the bridge has, and then proceed with destroying it if you think it's worth it.
Construction complete.
So you can just see a little bit of red over one of those trees.
Unit lost. Cannot deploy here. Low power.
Sir?
Building.
Sir. Good as done.
Construction complete.
Destroyers are pretty good, although they do have the same general problem that Grenadiers do. Namely, the fact that if they die, they kind of blow up.
Training.
It's not good to have a lot of them around, especially if they're low HP.
Awaiting order.
Insufficient.
Oh, and there's your comparison. The Destroyers are with GDI, and Nod has the Rocket Infantry. Obviously, the GDI's Destroyer excels at a number of things.
Infantry reporting.
One, it's very good against soft targets, such as infantry. Stuff like the Nod Buggy also is susceptible to being damaged or just outright killed by them. But they don't always do too well versus harder targets.
Orders.
On top of that, while their destructive power is really good, 5 of them should take out 1 infantry no problem before they get close.
Sir.
Unless they go prone, of course, because that mechanic still exists. But the actual disc can fly off in, I don't want to say random directions, because that's not the real mechanics behind it, but it does behave according to the terrain. So a destroyer can throw at a target, miss, have that grenade or disc bounce off back towards its target, or it could go any other which way, which makes them a little hazardous. But once you get the hang of actually figuring out how to throw them, they're pretty good. Another thing you can do with the Destroyer is you can toss, or you can force attack on the ground somewhere, and because the discs bounce 2 or 3 times before they explode, you get that extra distance that you wouldn't normally expect.
Construction options.
It effectively gives them more range than any other infantry in the game, barring like 1 or 2, but they're special characters, and we'll see them eventually. It should be pointed out that GDI works on a sort of component basis, promoting the idea of flexibility over
Bridge repair.
singular style or singular purpose weapons. The GDI has first of all, the power plant, which looks like it has some empty slots. The component tower does what it kind of says. It's a component tower. You slot stuff onto it. And we have the Vulcan cannon that gets unlocked when you build one. Unfortunately, the slots aren't completely interchangeable, so you can't put a Vulcan cannon on a power plant,
Unit ready.
which would have been kind of cool. Another thing I've shown off is the waypoint system. I know I talked about it previously, but you can kind of get the gist of how that works. You set a bunch of waypoints on the ground. If you want a unit to follow them, you simply have them, you select them, click on whichever waypoint you want them to go, and then they follow that chain in an increasing number. So if you have 3 and you send them to 1, they'll do 1, 2, and 3, etc. Now, it is possible to, while placing waypoints, to simply select one and then click on the first one to complete the circle. And that effectively becomes just a patrol route.
Infantry reporting.
The game does suggest, or at least the advanced strategies do suggest that
Loud and clear.
not only is it possible, it's a really good idea to have certain units effectively act as mobile patrols, because, well, you probably can't keep track of everything happening on the map.
You got it. Moving out. Yeah.
We also see some cyborgs here. We didn't have to deal with them ourselves in the last mission because they were taken out by scripting. But cyborgs are very interesting,
Unit lost.
as are those lasers. They offer just a little bit too much range for the infantry to deal with.
Infantry reporting. Waiting order. Infantry reporting.
Now, the cyborg offers a unique twist on things by
Loud and clear.
offering a anti-infantry weapon
Building.
that also happens to be that can regenerate in Tiberian.
Infantry reporting.
So if you happen to take a couple shots on him
Sir? Yes, sir.
and you don't finish him off, he walks into a Tiberian field, he can heal up to his maximum.
Infantry reporting.
Unit lost.
There is a small caveat though. We've seen it already, and that's that the cyborg,
Infantry reporting. Infantry reporting.
well, if you do enough damage to him, his legs pop off.
Lost.
Yeah.
Unit lost.
It's pretty neat to see, but the main point... Oh. And remember when I was talking about that whole distort thing? Yeah. Be careful whenever you use them.
You got it.
Getting back to the cyborg, when you pop off their legs, they can't ever regrow them. There's no way to fix that, as far as I know anyways. So,
Engineering.
it's not always beneficial to destroy their legs and run away, but you do make it so that it's effectively impossible for them to do anything. They just don't have the speed, which is already low, to do anything, really. That being said, it is a nuisance, so always keep an eye out for them.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Infantry
On
reporting.
board.
I haven't spoken about the engineers, but they're basically what we've already seen time and time again.
Reporting. Heavy fire. Yes, sir. Taking heavy.
They don't have weapons, they're pretty obvious, but at least we don't have to worry about having to damage a building first anymore.
Training.
Orders.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Base under
Awaiting
attack.
orders.
Construction
Orders. Sir.
complete. Ready. Building captured.
This is one of those points where if I've managed to capture the Hand of Nod, you kind of won this mission. You do still, regardless, have to destroy all the SAM sites.
Building captured.
And you can't capture that sort of defensive structure, so
Infantry reporting.
you're stuck having to do this.
Building
Infantry
captured.
reporting. Sir.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir. No problem. Sir.
There is one important thing to note about the Tiberian refineries, and that I only kinda discovered
Engineering. No problem.
with the
Complete.
all the material I purchased. Walkthroughs, that is, and guides.
Structure sold.
I actually forgot that they did that, and I'm pretty sure they sold one of my power plants.
Training.
Oh well. Anyways, getting back to tips and tricks, it is possible to tell a harvester to only return to a specific refinery. Apparently, if you select it and right-click to send them to deposit his funds into a refinery, it will always select that one. Which is pretty handy considering the 3 I now have, and just how far all the different fields are from them. You don't want a vehicle going from the entire west side of the map to the east.
Waiting orders.
Especially on larger maps than
Infantry
this.
reporting.
Non-SAM sites destroyed.
Oh, and hey, you can depower stuff, which is super handy.
Building offline.
Obviously, if you do depower stuff, you can't actually build anything from them.
Construction complete.
I have to say, though, this is one of those things that really made me appreciate Tiberian Sun. There's just so much more with regards to storytelling. Even if it's just, you know, a transport that flies to the map, loads a couple of units that you can't control anyways, and then moves off of it.
Unit
Good
ready.
as done. Waiting order on my way. You got it. Ready for action.
Also, attack buggies are tough. You don't want to mess with them on defense.
Civilians evacuated. Objective complete.